History is not a story. Stories have editors. Records have evidence. In South Africa, evidence was redacted, translated, and, in some cases, outright concocted. And the best-selling fiction of recent years? That the Afrikaner, the Dutch brood, arrived before the African, that a ship discovered a land already singing. That colonisation was just a camping trip with guns. They say, we came in 1652. Archaeology says, try a millennium too late. By the 11th century, Bantu-speaking Africans had iron furnaces, kingdoms and trade routes, while Europe was still burning women for owning cats. Mapungubwe wasn't a rumour, it was a capital city. Great Zimbabwe wasn't a mystery ruin, it was an economy. So, when the Dutch arrived, Africa didn't need discovery, they needed sunscreen. Watch the following clip carefully. See if you can spot the false equivalence, the geographic misdirection, and the moral sanitization.
They might look at the Afrikaners as white colonialists who came into the area. However, your people, the Afrikaners, have been in the region for about 375 years, which is longer than the Zulu, who is the largest tribe of the Bantu, have been in the region. So it's not that you guys came in and colonialized everything and now they're trying to take their land back. Is that correct?
Yes, that's very true. So our history in South Africa started in the 1600s when the Dutch, through the Dutch East India Company, established a refreshment station in the Cape of Good Hope, where Cape Town is, for ships traveling to the east, traveling around Africa, to be able to stop and get refreshments and repairs on their ships and so forth. And there, where Cape Town is now, we met the Khoi and the San, which are better known as the Bushmen, who were in that area. There was some cooperation, there was some friction. And it's interesting that it was probably a century thereafter, and it was about 1,000 kilometers away when our ancestors first met or encountered what is today described as black South Africans. The Xhosa people in what is today the Eastern Cape, very far from Cape Town. And by then we've been there for several generations. And many of these black groups, black African tribes in South Africa, came in around the same time, some earlier and some later, but from Northern Africa. Estimates say that they actually originated in Cameroon area, moving then towards the east of Africa, the African continent, and then along the lakes, the Great Lakes of Africa, down towards South Africa as a result of wars and conflicts on the African continent.
Did you spot them? Let's break them down. 1. False equivalence. Equating the Afrikaner's colonial presence, a product of European imperial trade and conquest, with the indigenous Bantu migrations, which were organic, continental and pre-colonial. It's like saying, since the Khoisan and the Dutch both moved once, they're equally indigenous. Absurd. Arriving from Europe by company ship is not the same as migrating within Africa over millennia. One is empire. The other is evolution. 2. Geographic misdirection. By focusing on Cape Town and the Eastern Cape, they shift the spotlight away from where Bantu-speaking peoples were already thriving centuries before the Dutch even sighted Table Mountain. It's a neat rhetorical trick. Start the clock when you arrive, and everything before that magically disappears. 3. Moral sanitization. They call it a refreshment station, not a military foothold. They say cooperation and friction instead of enslavement, land seizure and genocide. That's not history. That's PR. Colonial violence rebranded as a picnic gone slightly wrong. The Dutch East India Company wasn't a rescue mission, it was Amazon with cannons. Refreshment station sounds innocent, until you realise what they were refreshing was imperial thirst. Jan van Riebeeck wasn't a pioneer, he was a clerk on probation, sent to fix his reputation, and he took it out on a continent. They arrived with crosses and contracts,
Dit
one
is
to
nu
bless
van
the
ons.
theft, the other to legalise it. They love to say, "We met the Khoisan, not the Africans," as if Khoisan are some cosmic loophole that excuses colonialism, and not at all Africans. But here's the plot twist: the Khoisan are Africa. The oldest DNA on Earth hums in their blood, the same rhythm that beats in Xhosa, Tswana, and Zulu veins. To divide them is like cutting Africa open and calling the pieces not related. Apartheid tried that trick too. Turns out, lies age badly under sunlight. The Bantu arrived around the same time, Ernst say, which is historian code for "I didn't Google properly." Archaeological evidence shows Bantu settlement here by 500 AD, while the Dutch were still arguing about tulips and theology. Yes, the Afrikaner has been here 375 years. But Africa, we've been here 50,000. They call it the Great Trek. I call it an armed road trip with entitlement issues. They claimed they sought freedom, freedom to bring their slaves, their scripture, and their superiority complex. Every farm they claimed was a battlefield first. Every hymn of freedom drowned out someone else's silence. Freedom for some, displacement for many. Sound familiar? We weren't colonizers, he say, we just settled. That's like saying, "I didn't steal your house, I just moved in while you were still living there." Cooperation without consent is not partnership. It's PR with better lighting. They built cities with unpaid hands and called it civilization. But a mansion built on graves doesn't make you a homeowner, just a squatter with taste. Indigenous doesn't mean been here long enough to forget where you came from. It means born of the soil, not shipped to it. The Khoisan, the Xhosa, the Zulu, they belong to this earth by bloodline. The Afrikaner belongs by residency. There's a difference between rooted and parked. Truth isn't revenge. It's rehab for a nation that overdosed on propaganda. We don't need to shout. The truth doesn't need volume, it needs echo. Lies don't live forever, the truth always rises. You are colonial, or rather Dutch leftovers in Africa. I am the native South African. I am not a footnote in the European diary. I am the paragraph they tried to erase and the ink refused. We do not hate those who came here. We simply refuse to keep pretending they discovered us. Because understanding is not war, it is liberation disguised as clarity. South Africa's story begins with Africa.